What is going on, Laker fans, NBA fans? Appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been about a week since I put up any content. There's two reasons for that. Number one, man, I was under the weather like no tomorrow, so starting to feel like myself again. So that's the other. That's one of the reasons. The other one, not too much really NBA content, not too much Laker content that's come out. Nonetheless, still had some stuff that I want to get into that I have not got a chance to get into. So I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Recording in the morning today before I go do my radio show. So just get some content up. So hope you guys are doing well. If you guys can subscribe to the channel, would greatly appreciate that. I know I remind every episode, but I can't emphasize how much it helps the channel. And since I started putting up more content, definitely saw subscribers going up and everything else. So I really, really appreciate that. Few things I want to get into in today's show. The latest on Bronny James, I saw something this morning. Yeah, what a kind of sad situation there. Now, let's just hope that he's all good. But a quick update that I saw this morning. ESPN did their power rankings. So through the offseason, where they think all these teams land, I actually disagree with the list. I definitely disagree with where the Lakers are. So I'll spend a little time on that. Magic complimenting Rob Pelinka. Who would have thought? Full circle there. I'll tell a story of when Magic left the Lakers. I was right there. I was at crypto right in front of Magic Johnson when it was happening. And to kind of see him complimenting Pelinka now, I think is interesting. And then one other thing that came out, Austin Reeves was on one of the podcasts out there. I think it's with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, and revealed some stuff about an offer that was out there for him, or a potential offer that could have been out there for him, but it never happened. So that's really what I got going on for today's show. So again, I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Please subscribe to the channel, and I do want to read off, kind of start out the show here, the latest on Bronny James. So I guess there's some optimistic feelings about how Bronny is doing, but one of the things that I saw, and this is coming from the Daily Mail. So the Daily Mail said that LeBron scared and devastated for all the incident, making sure his son gets the best care possible, is in full dad mode, is protecting his son as any way that he can. Again, this is coming from the Daily Mail, so I'm just reading. This is a source that shared it to the Daily Mail. Scared and devastated what transpired to his son. The family's making sure he gets the best care possible. LeBron has no other feelings behind making sure that his son's okay. LeBron's only focus is devoted to Bronny's recovery. It's going to be the only thing on his mind. Full dad mode, like I mentioned. But also, another thing that came out, that even though the specific details of Bronny James has not come out, at least has not been revealed, the outlook on his condition can be described as optimistic. And that LeBron and his wife, Savannah, relieved by the news. So I don't know if there's too much more to get into. There was a cardiologist from Cedar Sinai that I think did something with the Orange County Register that talked about, what could happen in this type of condition when you have a cardiac arrest. I won't get into too much of those details because I think it's a little premature. But man, I didn't get a chance to react to it. It happened a couple of days ago, and talk about coming out of nowhere. Feel really, really bad. Obviously, feel bad for the entire James family. But I saw this come out, last night when I went to sleep. I kind of had in mind what I was going to do for today's episode. Woke up this morning, saw this. So I'm like, all right, let me at least get this in. Crazy, crazy stuff. What it means in the future for Bronny. Who knows what it means? There was a player actually at USC that had something similar happen last year and then still ended up playing 14 games for USC. I guess the question is, and I don't want to assume anything, but I guess the question is going to be, okay, how severe is it? How much of a concern is it? And then that will probably determine what happens with Bronny and, his college career, or maybe even potential past that, or maybe it's not an issue at all. Maybe he had one issue and they're able to handle it with whatever medical supplies that they can, or medicine, or whatever it is that they can, obviously address it. But that's crazy stuff right there. And for somebody who's that young, that's scary. And for somebody who's that, I'm sure, in shape and everything else, whatever you want to call it, that's incredibly scary. So Again, from the Daily Mail, that there's some optimism, which is great. And, as far as reaction goes, no surprise. Braun scared, devastated, the whole thing about his son, Bronny. So, wishing them the absolute best. So, I just want to get that one out there real quick. No real smooth transition into this one, but one of the main reasons why I wanted to do today's show was ESPN yesterday came out with a power rankings. And basically, now that the dust has settled, now that we're a little coffee here, now that the dust has settled, and we kind of have an idea what these rosters look like. I know there's still some big names out there that still got to get figured out, but I want to walk through this article with you, these power rankings, and just kind of get Laker fans' thoughts on where they have the Lakers and where they have some of these other NBA teams. So let me see. Am I sharing it here? Okay, perfect. Um, okay, so this is kind of the obvious here. Well, what happened in the offseason that you could look at and say, all right, well, that's interesting. Okay, this player is there. How much player does this guy make that player? So forth and so forth. Chris Paul's with the Warriors. Jordan Poole, obviously, with the Wizards. This article is wrong, says the Pistons. Bradley Beal is obviously on the Phoenix Suns. We know Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks signed with the Rockets. I have talked a lot about how I think the Marcus Smart move to Memphis is a big deal, and I think that's a really, really nice deal for them. Of course, the Spurs drafted Victor Wembanyama. We're going to find out what happens to Damian Lillard. There's some other players out there, too, that you wonder that by the time you get to the trade deadline, are they still on their team? Are they not? So initially for me, before I even saw the ranking, I just had my assumption. My assumption was, okay, the Lakers are going to be a top 5 team in this power ranking. That's just me. Maybe I got my Laker hat on too much. Maybe I don't. But that was my assumption. My assumption right out the gate was the Lakers are clearly going to be one of the top 5 teams in the NBA. That is not the case. So I'm going to go through where they have some of these teams, and we'll take it from there. Okay, first off, Denver at number 1. That one's no shock. They should be number 1, 100%. But I will say this. It's an interesting Denver team because they most definitely are not as good as they were last season as far as their roster goes. Now, you could say, listen, the pressure's off. Joker's got a championship. Jamal Murray does. Michael Malone does. They know how to win, all that stuff. You could say Christian Brown is going to come in. He's going to get a second year. That's one of their younger players. But I thought losing Bruce Brown and I thought losing Jeff Green are not small. I don't think that's nothing. Let's put it that way. I think that is something. I think the fact that those two players are no longer on the Denver Nuggets is it's not a big deal. Might be too heavy, but I think they're key role pieces, and I don't think just dismissing that is I don't think just dismissing that is the right thing to do. So Denver at number 1, I agree with, but I think Denver, if they were here and everybody else was here, they came down a little bit. And that's not with any other team making any other moves. I just think they came down a little bit. So that's my thoughts on Denver. Again, give them the number 1 slot in the ESPN Power Rankings. I understand that. I'm okay with it. But I do think that they have come down a little bit because they lost Jeff Green and Bruce Brown. Okay. Number 2, they got the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going to be honest with you. Again, I don't really have, too big of an issue with this. Some people want to make an argument. What are you talking about? They lost to Miami last year. They were a number 1 seed. How does that happen? You could do all that. I get it. I understand it. Milwaukee's really good, and they're going to be really good again. And Brooke Lopez re-signed. Chris Middleton came in with an extension. Giannis, Drew Holiday, the core that they have, they're going to be 1 or 2 in the Eastern Conference again, and then it's just going to be a matter of making a playoff run. It was shocking to see them lose. I know Giannis got injured, and he missed a game or two, something like that, and Miami took advantage. The last game that they played when they got eliminated in Milwaukee was the ugliest game I've ever seen. I had no idea what the Bucks were doing, but I'm okay with putting the Bucks, and I'm actually fine with putting the Celtics at 3. Again, I have no issues. If you want to make an argument that the Lakers are better than these two teams, go ahead, feel free to do it. But I don't have an issue with Milwaukee and Boston as the top two teams in the Eastern Conference, and I don't have an issue with Milwaukee and Boston as number 2 and number 3 in these power rankings. So right now you got Denver, you got Milwaukee, and you got the Boston Celtics. The question for the Celtics is going to be Jaylen Brown just got signed. You're bringing in Porzingis. Marcus Smart isn't there. There's some changes. So how they adjust to it, how they gel, I think all that is going to be in question. But Boston's got an incredibly talented roster. They always seem to be knocking on the door. Now the question is going to be, can they get back to the finals and actually win an NBA championship? Number 4. I think this is where people start having questions. I think this is where people start asking the question of, all right, well, you really have faith in the Phoenix Suns, who are going to basically put KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker together. You're not 100% sure what that fit's going to look like. You had a DeAndre Ayton that was clearly looks like he was regressing, not progressing. And you're kind of looking at a team and questioning whether there's enough depth and this and that. I actually think Phoenix has the most talent in the Western Conference. So I'm not one that is going to just clearly say that the Phoenix Suns are not one of the top teams in the Western Conference or a team to reckon with. I think KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker with DeAndre Ayton. Eric Gordon, I thought, was a great signing. Some of their other Metu is a nice signing. Nyaba is a nice signing. There's a couple guys that they ended up getting that I think will actually be a nice fit for them. And then Frank Vogel, who's a championship coach. I like Frank Vogel. I think he's a good coach, and I think he'll do a good job with the Suns. And I think if there was some issues before, whether it was Chris Paul, if he had any issues, okay, well, he's gone. If you had issues with Monty Williams and DeAndre, and okay, well, Monty Williams is gone. So Frank Vogel gets a clean slate. Phoenix at number 4, I'm okay with. Believe it or not, I'm okay with. Now, they got a lot that they got to prove. I don't have an issue. If these are the top 4, if you want to shuffle them around a little bit, feel free to do so. This is where my real problem starts coming into play. Miami's not better than the Lakers. They're not. They're just not. And what I hate about this ranking is the talking about the Heat are in a holding pattern due to Damian Lillard. Okay, but Lillard's not there. If Lillard joins the Miami Heat, and depending on what they have to give up, and it sounds like the Portland Trailblazers are saying, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and not make a deal. If you want to give us Tyler Hero and a couple of picks, that ain't going to happen for Damian Lillard, one of the most clutch players in the NBA, one of the top players in the NBA, one of the top point guards in the NBA. Portland doesn't sound like they're trying to accommodate to Damian Lillard, which why should they? They got to take care of their own team. So I don't understand how Miami is higher in the rankings than the Los Angeles Lakers. To play that one off, I don't understand how the Philadelphia 76ers have a higher rating than the Los Angeles Lakers in the power rankings. We have no idea what James Harden is going to do. And he was trying to leave. Sounds like he was trying to go to the Clippers. Sounds like he was trying to go to Houston. They end up giving that money to Fred VanVleet. The fact that you got Miami and Philly in front of the Lakers does not make all that much sense to me. Now, the odds would tell you that the Lakers have better odds to go win an NBA championship. For me, I just look at what the Lakers did this offseason, and you try to explain to me why Miami, why Philadelphia are in front of the Lakers. I look at these power rankings. Lakers should be a top 5 team in the NBA. They should be, period. I mean, to have that many teams in the Eastern Conference, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the top 6 teams are in the East. I don't know about that. And there's question marks with these teams. Think about the question marks with these teams. The question marks of Harden, the question marks of What happens to Miami with the Dame situation? There's some real question marks there. Boston's going to be working with a quasi new roster. A couple of they lost one of their heart and souls of the team in Marcus Smart. So I see the power rankings. I disagree with the power rankings. So Laker fans, I'll throw this out to you guys. I know there's a lot here, and I'm not gonna get into any further. I mean, the Warriors are after that. 9 is the Cavs, and 10 is the Memphis Grizzlies. I make a case that Memphis should be higher too, but I know Ja's going to be out. Um, I look at the Western Conference, and I do not, at least for me personally, believe that the Lakers are this are a number 7 team in the entire power rankings. I think they should be second in the Western Conference, and I don't think there's 4 teams in front of them in the Eastern Conference. So your thoughts there? Do you think they're properly rating the Lakers here, or do you think the Lakers should be a lot higher? So feel free to put your comments there. Okay. One of the other topics I want to get into is Magic Johnson complimenting Rob Pelinka. So good buddy of mine who comes on the show a lot on radio, Brad Turner of the LA Times, who's the man, had a chance to connect with Magic. Magic told the LA Times on Monday, talking about Pelinka's offseason plan. He did better than anybody in the summer. All the moves he made, he was the number 1 GM this offseason. Okay, we know what the Lakers did. Re-signed Rui, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo, went out there and got Gabe Vincent, Taurean Prince, Cam Reddish, Jackson Hayes. They got to figure out what else to do with their 14th roster spot. High praise from Magic Johnson. He went on to say, Rob is going to be executive of the year. I mean, you want to talk about full circle. Like fans, let me explain what I mean by full circle. Full circle is I was around a couple years ago, was covering the team. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. I was around a couple years ago when Magic, it was the final game of the regular season, and Magic steps down as president of basketball operations. And it was a shock to everybody. Nobody had any idea what was going on. It was actually at Crypto where he made the announcement. And I'm sitting there. I had full access and everything. So Magic was taking questions from everybody for a long time. Didn't matter. And I had, I don't have a personal relationship with Magic at all, but if I saw Magic, Magic saw me. There was a hello, there was a how you doing, and then that was pretty much it. On that day, he was taking questions and got a chance to ask some questions as well. And think about the things he said about Rob Pelinka, then the things he said the next day on First Take. He went on a tour, basically going after Rob Pelinka. And to kind of see things full circle where Pelinka took all that, had to kind of take it on the chin, eventually had to put together a roster that made sense, and then eventually put himself in a position now where I think a lot of Laker fans have also turned on Rob in a positive way. They like the plan. They like the direction. They like the organization. They like what they're doing. They like the draft picks. There's a lot of things I think Laker fans are positive about. So full circle there with Magic and Rob Pelinka. I thought those were some interesting quotes. And like I said, the final quote, for me, Rob is going to be executive of the year. So very, very, very high praise for Magic Johnson. Okay, last topic I want to get into. Austin Reeves. There was an article that came out. I want to get this because so the title of this article, and this was actually a source, NBA insider Michael Scotto. Okay. Lakers guard Austin Reeves recently told All the Smoke on Showtime that the Houston Rockets and Spurs were possibilities. The Spurs considered offering Reeves a restricted free agency sheet worth $21 million per season, league sources told HoopsHype. Ultimately, however, the Spurs were scared off by the widespread belief that the Lakers would match any offer sheet for Reeves and chose to preserve cap space as a salary dump destination for future draft pick compensation. The Rockets were also monitoring Reeves' situation and were prepared to make a big offer sheet if Fred VanVleet didn't sign with them, sources said. So Reeves, I think, went on to say on the podcast, I really wanted to be in LA the whole time. There were a couple situations that were close, but like I said, I really want to be in LA. LA feels like home. So that's really what I wanted to be, where I wanted to be. I don't know how you guys felt in the offseason. And I did an article on this, or I did a video on this already. I thought Reeves was a steal of the summer, period. Point blank, I thought he was a steal of the summer because of the price that the Lakers paid. And the fact that they didn't have to pay, and there wasn't a team like the Spurs or the Rockets that came in, but it shows you how close it was. Spurs were considering it. The Rockets were considering it. But the fact that the Lakers did not have to do that and then ended up getting Austin Reeves for 4 years, 56. That's amazing. Steal the summer, like I said before. Okay, so Laker fans, any thoughts? You want to give some love to Bronny James? Leave them in the comments. You want to give some thoughts on the ESPN Power Rankings? Lakers at number 7. You agree with it? Disagree? Should they be higher? Should they be back further? Put it in the comments. Magic complimenting Pelinka, I thought was interesting. And like I mentioned, Reeves, Lakers got some great value on Austin Reeves. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Sorry that I'm all stuffed up and everything else, but want to get a video out. Please do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel. It means the world if you can. And I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen to the video. Thanks, Laker fans. Appreciate it, NBA fans.